This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I think we are following this mock-up for our development, right? So let me open this. So let me open developer console. Okay, so we are working on this form. I think this form is there, and also we are showing the quick list values. Now the next phase is bringing this screen after saving. Okay, so far we are done with applying styles to show the button with full width. If you click on preview, we have applied some style, and it is showing combo box and the select list for country and the city fields. So for this we are using combo box. For this we are using the pick list for the selection, and also onload we are automatically populating India corresponding pick list values. On change also here we are populating. So I think this part also we are done. The next thing, pre-populating country, that is also done. The country field change based on the country update, the city field values we are updating. Now I think we need to do the validation and save the record into the database. So that is what we need to do. Yeah, so go back to our logic. So far this is our logic. The next pending part which we are seeing here, on click on save, I think we need to call one of the function, and we have to make the server call to save the record into the database. Okay, so on click on this save button. On click, we are going to call one of the function. On click c dot save. Okay, one of the controller function we are calling. So here save function, but I want to write the logic inside the helper. That is the best approach. Okay, so now just to call from this button directly, we cannot call the helper function. From here we are calling this save, and from here helper dot, I'm going to define a function with the name handle save. Okay, to that we are going to supply event. This we are going to define in the helper. Go to helper, here you make this, here function, right? So now on click on button, system will call this function will be called, and from that handle save will be called. Now here we have to save the record. We have to make the apex call and save, but before we do that, we have to validate the form. right? So already when I click on save, all these values entered or not. For all the required fields, we need to validate. I think almost all these fields are required. Yeah, I think already one time we validated. So now this time, when you are validating whether this information is entered or not, so in general, when you do like this, complete this field like this, it is showing, right? So I want to show one of the custom messages. I don't like this message. In case if the required field is not populated, I want to enter whatever I like or whatever as per the client requirement. That kind of things. Just I'm trying to explain now. So here, what we will do, if the validation is succeeded, then only we are going to write the logic, right? Here, call apex method. We'll be calling that. But if the validation is succeeded, for that maybe, right? I'm defining one of the function validate, right? I'm going to call the function validate, and it is going to return either true or false. Validation is succeeded. True means we are going to make the apex call. Otherwise, we are not going to make call. What we do, we show all these things highlighting with red color, and for few fields, you can also keep the custom message. Okay. So now validate function. Just we are going to call this one. I'm going to call this one from handles it, right? Now from one function, if you want to call other function, what we do is we give this dot validate. Okay, this is a way. This means in this file, we are calling the validate one of the function. Anyway, this is going to return. So here I'll say is valid. By default, I'll say true. Return true. The result of this function is a true or false based on what we supply, right? So if it is true, we are going to make the apex call. False means we are not going to call the apex method. Okay, here to identify each and every element on the UI, all these things to identify. If you see our UI component, we gave Aura ID for each and every element to recognize, right? First name, last name, all those things. So let me identify that element and see whether that is valid or not. Okay, so here all the fields, right? Fields, whatever we need to validate, I'm going to bring. For that, component dot find based on the local ID we are finding, getting first name, right? This is the first name. I'm going to use this again and again. So I'm storing this one into first name field. Let's say that is the name. It will identify the first name using the RID, and that entire input element we are storing into this field. In the same way for the other required fields, right? So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total we have 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. So one is last name. Say so last name field. One is for email field. So we can also use reduce, right? Previously we used, which is very shortcut. Okay, but here let's say only for few messages, only for few fields, there is a need to display some different messages. We should know all the different ways. Okay, so here mobile field, country, so all these fields I'm getting. And also city. So make sure that we give the proper Aura ID for all these elements, whatever we give. Same thing we have to give, right? So I think I'm giving almost same thing. So we have Aura ID for all these things. So looks like for a select list, we did not give. Let's make sure to give that. And also combo box Aura ID we did not give. Okay, give that. Yeah, so we are getting all these things into these fields. Now let's validate. Okay, now if I'm going to, it should enter inside only if this field value is not having anything, right? Dot from that field if you want to get any attribute, right? It's like field means this entire, for first name, this entire element. From that we need value. So what is the value? Right? To get the attribute value, we use v dot value. If the value is not there, not having value, only if it is a right, so falsy value, that time it will enter it, right? If it is not having value, then we are going to validate. So maybe if you don't remember the functions, what we can do, go to component library. This is component library. Lightning input. So if you go to specification, here we have check validity, right? Report validity. So we are going to use, right? I'm using check validity, right? Yeah. Anyway, if it is empty, it will be, there is error. Yeah, this will show the red mark. It will highlight that border into red color. Report validity will display the message. Okay, now once it enters inside, that means this is invalid. Okay, so let's say if you don't fill entire form and try to save, I want to see all the errors at a time. Okay, maybe all if conditions, like a nested if, if series 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is for last name. One is for last name. One is for email field. The other one mobile. The other one country. The other one city field. Okay, so now let's see how it works. Okay, I'm going to deploy. So anyway, we click, it will come here, it will call this. Maybe we are not making the server call, but there is error without filling. I'll try to click on save. You see all those boxes turn into red color. Okay, so go to this preview, just to refresh. Click on save. Right now, if you see, so mostly I think it is working. For the city field, it is saying that report validity is not there. Okay, because I think the city field, it is not input, right? It is a select, input select, sorry, Aura select, sorry, lighting select is the standard component. So for that, I think that attribute might not be there. Okay, so that is lightning select. Go to this select specification. Here check validity is there, but report validity is not there. Instead of that, show help message if valid, if invalid. I'll use this. This will show, maybe if you go back and see these errors, right? So in the same way, complete field. For the select, we are going to use a different function. Okay. Now go to our code. Select list is a city. For city one, instead of report validity, okay, show help message if invalid. That's what I'm using. Now we should not see that error. Okay, deploy. And also maybe if everything is succeeded for now, here I'm going to call server. Okay, now go back, just to refresh. And call server method. I think the validation is succeeded. Now if you see for this select list also to showing everything, but I don't want like this. Here I want to write my own custom message. Please populate email. Please populate mobile. I want like that. So if you want like that, again, if you go back here, instead of this report validity, check validity, okay, this one, we are going to use set custom validity. And there is a function. If you go to component library, you go to the previous one, input specification. We have set custom validity. We can write our own message what you want. Right? Please populate email field. Okay, like that somehow you can show. Just I want to show you for this, just commenting. Mobile field, deploy.
And is valid is false, right?
Sorry,
Is valid field is the right, sorry, variable. That is false, right?
is valid. So which one? What talking about?
No, no, in code. Yeah.
This is the code. Yeah.
We should know line number 44, for example, is valid variables should be set to false instead of true.
Line number 43.
44, the is valid, should that be set to false?
Yeah. So we have to keep, yeah, false. Yeah, that should be false. Okay. So now deploy this. Go back and just refresh. Click on save. So now if you see, please populate email field, mobile field, whatever we are giving, it is also showing that. Okay, that means our validations are okay, fine. Now, if you populate everything properly, I think it should say, right? So let's say okay, I'm trying to save. So this time, so basically, right, should not throw the error. But here, it is not clearing this, right? After saving, somehow whatever we are giving these values, since in a custom way we are adding, so it is not clearing. So that is one thing. So let's go here. Set custom validity. Somehow we need to clear that. Go back here. So again, next time, okay, so to clear what is happening, again, it is not entering inside. And since in a custom way we are giving, it is not really clearing that value. This should be again when you save, else this is situation. Just to say check validity. So maybe first we try with this email. Now when I try to save, so just thinking how we can, this should be clear, right? If the email failed, okay, I think I'll look for that. Okay, how we can remove. Again, here I don't want to waste time. Anyway, after saving, check validity, report validity. Let me try with both. Just for trying. Otherwise, I'll look for this later and maybe tell you. Now it is removing. I think I need to clear that message. Okay, I have to make that empty our side. So maybe this itself is sufficient so that our application looks better. When you add custom one, it is, I think as a developer, we need to also take care of clearing. But here it should be mobile field. Okay, now I think everything is fine. Except this, I think all the validations are good. Now here, if you fill the entire form, it is going to call this one. Right? So maybe test it, just refresh. Okay, now everything is fine. Okay, validation is done. Now let's make the Apex call. So for that, in which object we are going to store, I think quickly. So let's create one object and create one class and keep a method to save our information and supply all this information to that. Okay. Maybe if you want some steps, you can write. Yeah, I think this is not much complex, so let's proceed with that. First, let me create the object. Go to Object Manager. Create custom object. Yeah, any questions? So I don't want any tab for this. Save it. Mainly we need fields for first name, text, click on next. Last name, text, click on next. Last name, seven new. I think we have email field, taking email data type. Mobile is phone data type. City and country. For now, quickly, I'm taking text field. City. Okay, quickly we have created one of the object. Now create one class, and we are going to call one of the method of that class. Okay, so press F1, Apex class, demo registration, controller. So let's say this is the name giving. So let's define one of the method here to save the information. The method should be @Aura enabled with this signature. So method name save. So don't give this name, the method name same as the controller JS function name or helper JS function name. Okay, so it leads to some confusion. So here I'll say save registration. When you start newly, it's very common. You give this function name, the method name same, and also one of the controller function name same. We'll struggle. Okay, after many hours, we'll get to know that both should not be same. Okay, just keep that in mind and always try to think. Don't try to give the same name of the controller JS function. Okay, so now here, so always in order to avoid future situations like after developing a method, there might be a requirement to add some additional parameters. That time again, changing the signature and all those things leads to more complexity. Even while returning, let's say in case of success, return the records. In case of failure, return one of the string message. How we can make everything possible in the same return type? Okay, so one of the easiest way, return the map, or few people create the class, right? In the class they keep on add attributes and return. That is one way, but that way every time whenever you want to return something, we have to define that variable in the class, and again here you need to populate and form. When compared to that, this is easy. Whenever you want to add one of the new value in the code and return. Okay, so mostly I follow like this so that we see most of the times we don't change the signature of the method. This one I'll say output map like this, return. So like a framework, if you follow this, you don't struggle. Okay. Otherwise, if it is very simple and you know that there is no way to change the parameters in future also, return value also only one type. In those situations, we can maybe go with the straightforward way. Okay, so now here, as a default, maybe our method might be failed due to some DML operation exception or something, right? Even though server side execution is completed, even though the state we get as success, it's not the meaning that it is succeeded in our Apex code. Maybe there might be exception in our code. Internally, for us to recognize, is it failed due to exception or there is a error? I mean, is it succeeded? Maybe maintaining one attribute is success. So by default, I'll say is success as false or true, whatever. Let's say I'm using false. In the map, as a default, I am supplying this value. By default, is success value is false. Okay. So that is this one we need to populate. But first, so get the input values, right? Get those input values, and we need to populate the registration record instance with all the field values, whatever supplied from the, I think we are calling from helper.js. From here, whatever we supply, we catch here and map to each and every field of the registration object and save. Here I am creating the instance for the registration object. So registration is equal to new. Okay, in this, so I'm going to populate maybe first name underscore C. So where it is in this map, we are going to supply. When we supply, we are going to give the name as first name. Okay, but whatever we get is in which format object. Okay, so we know that first name will be in the string format and typecasting into string. In the same way, one more field. So last name, email, mobile, country, city. So for everything. But here it is last name underscore C. Here last name. Here email underscore C. That is a field API name. We are going to supply with the name email. This one mobile underscore C. We are going to supply with the mobile. Also country underscore C. Here this one the country. Here city underscore C. This will be city. Okay, we are populating everything. Okay, finally insert. Insert or maybe upsert if there is a need to update. We can also say upsert, but we know that it is insert. Straightforward inserting, but it is not guaranteed. Maybe due to duplicate or due to some validation, it might be failed. So we are handling exception. Try. So exception, right? So now here, in case of success scenario, you see this output map to that. By default, it is success false, right? I'll put in a map based on the key. If you want to replace, we repeat the same key. Now the new value what you want to assign. Okay, is success. I'm saying true. It is inserted successfully. And also one message I want to keep. A message. Registration record has been successfully saved. This is the message I'm returning, right? So in case of error scenario, anyway, the default value I'm giving as false, right? Is success false. Okay, so here I'm giving the message exception. So what is the message? E dot get message. Let's say I also want to append the line number. E dot get line number. Okay, so that's it. Now let's deploy. It is deployed. I think that's it. In case in future, if you need something else, we can also add those things here. That's what I'm returning. So let's say, I think we also need the record ID, I think, going forward. Okay. In case of success scenario, anyway, record ID will be generated. I'm also appending record ID. Maybe in other screens, we need to refer with that record ID. Okay, so here, since it is map, right, it's easy. Whatever you want, all those multiple values we can return. So here I'm giving record ID, registration dot ID. That will return the record ID, right? So that's it. We are done with this Apex code. Deploy. Now call this. First, we need to associate this class for that component. For that, go to registration. Here, controller. Okay. We have associated to that class. Now calling this method, we decided to call from here, right? Call from here. So here first constant action is equal to call component dot get. So already we know, right? Quickly I'm typing. Just we created instance, and we need to set parameters, right? Set parameters. Action dot set parameters we need to supply in the object format. Name and value pair. We know our method is expecting input map. We need to define this input map parameter here, defining. So whatever I decided to supply, I'll supply this, right? We are supplying everything as a map here, right? So I'm keeping the entire thing in one object, name and value pair, and supply. So here I want to supply first name, last name. I think already for all these things we are associating. Whatever we entered, I think we are associating with those fields. Yeah, I think here value mobile value for combo box, value country, yeah. But for select list, I think we are not firing with this city. Okay, so value is equal to v dot. We have one of the attribute city. Okay, so that whatever we enter, all those things will be into these attributes. Okay, I'm getting those values and mapping. Okay, so maybe first name component dot get to get the attribute value. Say v dot. The attribute name is first name, right? So I'm giving the same thing. Okay, in the same way, I think we have 6. So last name, slash name, email, mobile. We have a mobile attribute. Exactly, we have to give that. Okay. Country. City like this. Okay. So just understand. Now we have all the attributes information we are supplying into this. That finally we are setting into this. Okay. So now set callback, which will execute later. Okay, so action dot set callback, which will just set it, but it will come back and execute the function inside this. Before we forget, also call apex method. Right? Call apex method. This is the way. enqueue action, supply that action. When the response comes here, the overall response from this, maybe get the constant state is equal to response dot get state. Okay, so now state is equal to success. Success will enter inside else. Okay, for now, I'm printing that state here. And also error message. I'll say response dot get error. I paste it. I'm just printing in the console log. And now, in case of success here, the response. So I'm getting into this RES or maybe say result. Yeah, result. So response dot get return value. This will be having that result. Otherwise, let's say we are returning output map, right? This is that output map. Okay. Now, if you want to get the value of the map based on the key, we use that map name dot the key is success, right? We are returning is success. Okay. If the returned value is false, it won't enter. True, only success scenario it is true. That time it enters inside. Right? Else means somehow the record is not inserted. there might be a DML exception. Okay. So here, in case of is success, so now what I want to do, I want to display a toast message, but the thing is, toast message won't display in the application. In some places, toast message won't work. Okay, so let's say wherever it supports, I want to show the toast message. Wherever it is not supporting, in those places, I'm going to show the custom message which we are going to develop as a reusable component. Okay, so for now, to control those kind of things, so here I'll say toast. We know to show the toast message, we use $a.get, and we have to fire one of the system event, e dot, right, like an application event. It is e dot force colon show toast. And that is the event. Okay, this event we have to fire, but before firing, we need to set the parameters. Right? Toast dot set params. Here, parameters we have to supply in the object format. Here, type, is it a error or success? Say success. Right? Success means to show in the green color, we have to supply this title. Title, I'll say success as a title, message. So we have this output map, right? In that we have the message in case of success scenario that we are going to show. So that's it. But if here, when you try to see, it will throw error, because within the application, this toast messages won't work. Only if you invoke that component when you add in the record page or home page, or if you override some quick action, only in those places it will work. For that, what we do, when we get this event, if you know that it is not there, what will happen? It won't be there when you try to execute logic from the application. That time it will be undefined. Undefined dot set parameters will lead to some errors. So what we do, if using if, right, only if there is something undefined, means it is a false value, it becomes false and it won't enter inside. Right? So if that is not supported, then in our application, this is what it will enter into this one. Here we have to show the show custom message with alert component. Yeah, we are going to develop one component. Same thing in case of error scenario, right? You see here, maybe this can be, this we can keep as common, either success or error. Both situations we are going to show the toast message. Okay, maybe in case of success, it enters inside. Error, okay, so I want to keep this common between the here. So this entire thing is if our method response is succeeded. Right? In case of failure, just we are overall we are printing. You know, here, if this we handle later, here maybe same thing. I'm going to copy. I think I need to keep that outside. So keep here. I think that this should be here, so that it is available for both success and else also. But here we say error. It will show in the red color. Maybe here say error, something like that. Okay, whatever message, error message. But anyway, for our application, it won't work. Maybe I'll also show you in other places where we keep. That time it will work. Yeah, now almost we are done. So the next step, showing the message in a proper way. So we need to develop one of the reusable component. Since we don't have time, we'll do that in our next session. Okay, before ending today, any questions, anyone? Okay. Any questions?
Sino, I do have a question.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how in the controller file. Can you go to a controller file, please?
FX controller.
No. No, the controller.js. When you created a map.
Yeah, controller.js. Yeah.
Can you scroll up? Where you create the map.
Yeah.
I think this is not the one. The place where you created the actual map, first name, last name, all those things, where you supply values. Is it the help? Yeah, this one. Yeah. So the component dot v dot first name, will it return entire component or just the value of that first name that was entered by user?
Yeah. So here, that CMP. Right, CMP means our custom component. In this component, the attribute, it will look for this attribute, and it will get this value. Okay. So previously, what we did, we CMP dot find, and based on this Aura ID, we found this element, right?
Okay.
So that time, right? So it will return the entire field. Okay. So maybe you might be thinking like this. If I say like this is the exact direct attribute of this component. Okay. Previously, what I did in this component, find, and based on the ID, first we have a RID for first name input field, right? Now this will find this entire first name element, this one, right?
Okay.
Now this becomes, this is now this lightning input component, right? In that component, if you want to have some attribute, we say get dot v dot value or whatever other attribute you want, right?
So we just have to say dot value to get value.
Yeah. Now here when I say v dot value, now this is the value of this input, lightning input.
Okay.
Right? Maybe if you want placeholder, you can say dot placeholder, right? V dot. Now internally, technically, this part is, this is that lightning input component, right? Lightning input is also one of the component, right?
Correct.
This is like lightning input standard component. Okay. So when you say CMP, CMP is our direct component. This is our component C colon demo registration. This holds our component, right? For this, if I say dot get, we can access the attributes which we define in this component. For this, if I say dot get, and we can access the attributes which are available for Lightning in, like that. Okay.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. So, any other questions, anyone? Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll continue on Monday and proceed with the next examples. So next week we complete this Aura and start with LWC. Okay. We also commit this. Okay, it will be there. We'll continue on Monday. Thank you.